feel lost when it comes to your content creation and you don't know what content to create, whether that's topics for your Facebook live streams or your YouTube videos or your blog posts, then you're in the right place. So in this video, I'm going to look at what content you should be creating so that you can have a constant stream of topics to talk about, and even more importantly, content that builds connection and content that converts into paying clients. And I'm also going to talk about and share one of the common mistakes that I see a lot of business owners, particularly business owners who are new to creating content, make with their own content that really keeps them stuck, so you can avoid this mistake as well. So make sure you watch the entire video and stick around to the end. So hello and welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah Nguyen, and I help awesome entrepreneurs like yourself build their business, income, and impact using video on social media. Now, make sure that you check out the links in the description because I'll put all of the show notes, timestamps to key sections of the video, and also any resources that I mention in this video. So I'm really excited to be talking about this topic today because it really is looking at a few things. We're looking at what content you should be creating in terms of trending and evergreen content. And if you don't know what that is, that's okay. We'll cover that in this video so that you get 100% clear on the topic that you should be creating that will get you the most conversions and get you the most people looking to buy and lined up to buy your products and your services. So what's the deal? A really big problem that I see a lot of business owners have, particularly when they first get started creating content. So you've created your YouTube channel or you've set up your Facebook page and you're ready to start live streaming and creating content, is that when you first start, you're really excited and you've got, all these ideas in your head of what you should talk about because this is the first time you've been on video and you've got a lot to say. So what happens is you'll typically put out like 6, 10, maybe 15 videos or live stream that amount of times on YouTube or Facebook Live. But then after you've gone through all of these topics, you're kind of at a loss as to what you should start talking about next. And it's kind of like this content hamster wheel of death where you have this massive inspiration and you create this massive push of content, but then you run out of ideas and you don't know what to live stream or create content about next. So then you go into radio silence, and then your audience who you're trying to build a connection with, they don't hear from you. They get radio silence for weeks, months and months. And I see this happen all the time until you get the next burst of inspiration. So there's a lot of reasons that this may be happening, but one of the most common reasons that I see that business owners who start creating content experience this is because they're most likely creating content based on trends or trending content or seasonal content. And you're most likely doing this because of a few reasons. Firstly, a lot of people create content on trending topics because it's what a lot of influencers, particularly lifestyle influencers, and I have nothing against lifestyle influencers, but it's something that a lot of the big lifestyle influencers tell you to do because they tell you to create topics on trending things because that's what works really well for them. However, just because it's worked really well for them doesn't mean that it works well for other business owners or that it will work well for you as a smaller business owner without a large audience. And the reality is that these big influencers, the way that they treat content and the content topics that they create is 99% of the time different to the content that every other business needs to create content around. So it's a big mistake that I see lots of people make where they see these massive influencers with, hundreds of thousands and millions of subscribers or millions of followers, and they're like, well, if I reverse engineer what they did, then I will be successful as well. But it's a different game that we have to play to compare to what they have actually done. So that's the biggest mistake that I see people make. And it's a really easy one to make because it's what we're told to do. You know, we're told to follow success leaves crumbs, and to follow the crumbs and to reverse engineer what these big influencers have done, but it's not necessarily going to work for smaller businesses. And the second reason that I see a lot of people get stuck with the content that they create, or get stuck with creating a constant flow of content, is because typically when it comes to content that is trending content is maybe something you're creating and you're not even really aware of it, because trending content typically is content that is really topical and it's on everyone's minds at the moment. So you think it's really relevant because you're experiencing it, or you're addressing what you feel is your audience current needs. So for example, during this very, very weird time, I see a lot of people creating content around COVID and quarantine, which is fair enough. So for example, I would consider trending content at this time things such as quarantine meal plans, COVID exercises, or social distancing related, you name it, tips for everything. So whilst this is all relevant at this time, and I get it, like it's relevant at this point in time, what happens with trending or seasonal content is that although it has its place, the lifespan of seasonal content is that it's exactly that. It will give you a spike, but then it's not sustainable over the longer term. So I want to really explain this, and I am excited to go into the iPad and do a little bit of iPad drawing. So hopefully you can see my screen, and according to the software that you can. So this is what really happens with trending content. So I'm going to draw on my iPad. Okay, if it lets me draw. Okay. So this is what happens with trending content. We have this beautiful line here. Oh, and myself is a little bit, I'm gonna make myself a little bit smaller so that I'm not covering so much of the screen. And this top axis here is, traffic and views on that axis. And across the bottom, these are the months of the year. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So this is the axis, right? And let's just say that you have decided to create content on, the top tips for Christmas exercises, right? So in terms of this Christmas seasonal content, when do you think that this content will be most searched for or most considered by your audience? So definitely around Christmas, so December here. You'll probably get it, in the months leading up to, November, people are considering it. October, that's when the stores, Costco has a lot of Christmas stuff in there. And maybe you'll get a little bit in September. But for the rest of the year, what's happening? Not a lot. So, you've got like this spike in this period, but then the rest of the year, it's pretty much flat. And that's what happens months, but then the rest of the year or the other times of the year, it's not really relevant. So it's not sustainable. And this is really the price you pay for seasonal content. It has its place. It's, I'm not saying that it's never create seasonal content. What I think you should be doing instead of having 100% focus on trending content is, so let's just say that this circle is what your current division of content is. And it's at the moment, your entire pie is 100% trending. So you look at what's happening, what's relevant in the times, and this is 100% spread, coverage of what your content is. I'd challenge you to consider, instead of having 100% of your content be trending, to consider breaking that spread up into perhaps going either half of your content to have half of it as trending, and maybe half of it, I'm going to change color so you can see this graph in action. The other half be evergreen. And now you may be saying, one, she has horrible writing, and I would agree with you there. And what is she actually talking about? Well, let's get into that. So when we talk about content being evergreen versus trending, evergreen content is content that is always relevant. So it's not seasonal. Someone who is interested in a topic that is evergreen is interested in it, whether it's Christmas, whether it's cold, whether it's Easter, whatever season is. It's not seasonal. It's always relevant. And the idea is that you break up the split of your content to be part trending and part evergreen. And you may be still saying, okay, so if you're telling me to break it up between trending content, which I've done, and then evergreen, well, what is evergreen content? Like, what is it really? So let's go back to the iPad. Let's go back to the iPad. And I'm going to put myself small in the corner again. So let's go back to the whole purpose of evergreen content and why I recommend you add this to your content spread, whether you are doing live streams, YouTube videos, or even blog posts. So with evergreen content, because it's content that is always relevant, it really is about a couple of things. First of all, it's about your audience. So your audience, this is your audience member here, and they're sad. And they've got problems like you, like me. They've got a lot of problems, and they want to go from this state of being sad to this space of being happy. And bear with me here. And your content is the bridge that gets them from sad to happy, from their state of pain and where they're struggling to the future state of where they desire. And if you create content that helps them move from this pain, so it addresses their pain and helps them transform, whether that is advice, whether that is transformational information, whether that is information that helps them uncover their pains, whether that is steps for them to progress, so that they can ultimately get to this state. The content that you create, when you particularly focus on evergreen content that helps them transform, is always relevant. And that is the content that you should be focusing on. That is the content that, when you really help someone transform, will always be relevant. And that is the content that helps position you as an authority, helps build connection, and helps people want what you have to sell, because you're helping them to shift. And that's the whole purpose of content. And you can do that much more easily with evergreen content than you can with trending content. So I'm going to close the iPad for a moment. So what type of questions? I'm going to help you with a couple of questions to help you, come up with the topics that will help you move people from their state of pain to the state of desire, the state that they want to be in. So the first question that I'd ask you to ask yourself is, in terms of your audience, what are they struggling with now? So what is it that they want? And I always use weight loss as an example, but I think it's very relevant. So if your audience, you're in the health and fitness niche, and you look at the struggle of someone who wants to lose weight or wants to get healthier. What is their pain right now? And when you look at topics to create around what their pain is, and then you look at topics of how to shift them from their pain, their state of pain, whether they're overweight, whether they're unhappy, whether they're in physical pain, how do you shift them from that state to being what they desire, which is, healthy, which is pain-free, which is all of this stuff? What do you need to give them in order for them to shift? So what are they struggling right now, and how can you help shift them? And when you dig into this question, you'll see how powerful it really, really is. And it will get you a lot of topics, a lot of evergreen topics to cover. The other question I want you to ask yourself is, what do they desire? So when you understand their pain, on the flip side is, where do they want to be, so that you can help create content that will shift them to that. So it's really easy to connect the dots when you can create that bridge, because your content is that bridge that will help them transform. So what is it that they desire physically? What is it they desire emotionally? Create content around that as part of that transformation process. And the other one, which I really, really love, is, what beliefs do they need to let go of in order to get the changes that they desire? And this is a really powerful one to create evergreen content around, because everyone has limiting beliefs. Regardless of which niche you're actually in, you'll find that everyone's got these beliefs that block them from getting the results they want, from getting the outcome that they want. And it's up to you as a business owner to help your audience shift these beliefs so that they can get the results that they need, regardless of which niche it is. So this is a really, really powerful question that I think when you ask yourself and you really drill down, that it really helps you to understand your audience's pains and how you can help them and how you can help them shift. And then you'll have so much content to create. Now, I have a lot of these questions addressed in a previous video. So if you haven't watched my customer avatar video, check out the description, because I'll put a link to it there. And I have a lot more questions to help you identify who your customer avatar is and the questions that you can be asking to uncover their pains and their problems to help them move. So those questions pretty much cover it's enough to get you started so that you can start to build evergreen content that will always be relevant, that helps build connection. So I hope that is helpful. And it really is, let me just move this here. It really is, I think, one of the most powerful things that you can do to help your audience shift, because with evergreen content, it's always relevant, because people's pains, people's struggles and their desires, they're always there. And if you can nail this, it really helps people convert from your content much more easily. And I think it will be really successful for you. So that essentially wraps up the broadcast today. We talked about quite a few things in this concise little video. We talked about probably why you're getting stuck when it comes to coming up with content ideas, because you're either focusing on creating trending content because you've seen a lot of influencers do it and you think that that will work for you as well, or you haven't been quite aware that you've been creating trending content and you haven't had enough of a spread of evergreen content. We also looked at why trending content is difficult to get consistent traffic from, and we went down to the iPad and I did that little graph for you, and I showed you a couple of questions to help you get a constant flow of content ideas that can help you convert your audience using evergreen content. So thanks, David, for joining us on the broadcast there. So I essentially am going to wrap it up there. If you found this video useful, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you're looking for more ways to grow your business using live streaming or using Facebook Live, then make sure you grab a copy of my Facebook Live cheat sheets. It's a super simple guide to get you up and streaming on Facebook Live, even if you've never hit record before. To get your hands on it, simply click on the link in the description below. I'm going to put the link hopefully on the page somewhere. And thanks for joining me today, and I will see you on the next broadcast. Bye for now.